Welcome. My name is Rachel Painter, and I'm an extension specialist with the Center for Profitable Agriculture. And today we have with us Billy Trout from the Tennessee Department of Revenue, sharing with us some information about sales and use tax. So I know a lot of our cut flower producers have a lot of questions about purchasing from one another or purchasing wholesale and how to collect sales tax or if they need to collect sales tax. So Billy is going to share with us all that you need to know about that today in this recording. And if you have other questions, you can, of course, reach out to his team at any time at the Tennessee Department of Revenue. So again, I'm going to turn it over to Billy Trout, the Tennessee Department of Revenue Taxpayer Services. Thanks, Billy.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you very much. So thanks for watching this presentation here. And we were very thankful to the Tennessee Department of Agriculture, along with our Tennessee farmers and nursery operators and timber harvesters and other people that kind of keep things going here in the state in your industry. You guys do a great job. And of course, the legislature has special tax rules for you guys because of what you do. And a lot of what we're going to be talking about here in the next few minutes relates to specifically how this might help you, particularly if you're dealing with cut flowers. But you'll find out here in just a moment that a lot of the rules and regulations for farming in general apply really to anybody, not just people who do cut flowers. So we're going to talk about some generalities and some other things here for you. So let's first of all talk about the exemption that you have in Tennessee tax law relating to items that you can purchase for your operation, okay? So sales tax exemption. So this qualification, it allows you as a qualifying farmer or nursery operator or the timber harvesters to buy these qualifying items used to produce your product. So examples in your particular area of agriculture would include plants or seeds or bulbs that you might be purchasing. And what you want to do is you want to apply for a tax exemption certificate with us. Probably most of you know about this already, and if you don't, that's okay. There's an application on our website there that you can complete and send in that and the documentation to us. Now you can mail that in, but you can also email it to us, and I will be sure to share our email address here in just a little bit, so that will be a little bit easier for you to send that information in if you need to, okay? I do mention on this slide here that documentation is required, and it is definitely required. So don't forget to send that in along with your information. And after it's approved, we'll send you your certificate out, which is fantastic. And we'll do that pretty quickly as well once we get all your information, okay? So that's how that works. Now, when you have this certificate, you take it and you use it to buy these items that are directly related to the production of your agricultural products. Each certificate and the wallet card that goes along with that does have an expiration date, and they have a 4-year lifespan. What we do is we email you a new copy of that automatically once we approach the end of that 4-year period, so you don't have to reapply. So as long as your address is the same, you don't need to update that or anything like that too. And then of course, you would want to let us know if your address does change. Otherwise, we would not know how to change it. How about that? That makes perfect sense, right? So let us know if you do have any address changes for your farming location or your mailing location, either address, okay? So when you go to your supplier to be exempt for these items that you can purchase, use that wallet card that's at the bottom of the certificate, or you can actually use the entire certificate if you want to. You can bring copies of that too. I do want to encourage you not to use your original everywhere you go. Make some copies, because it's a lot easier to do that. Because they want to retain those certificates or copies of those wallet cards anyway. So if you have some of them, then that way you've got your original back in your office or whatever, and you won't have to ask for another copy of that. If you need it, just let us know and we'll print you another one. And then of course, like it says here at the bottom, the purchaser is responsible for ensuring that the purchased items will be used to produce agriculture or nursery products. Now, what that means is that it is your responsibility when you buy these qualifying items to make sure that they're being used for that agricultural purpose. Okay. So just be careful. You know, we tell people obtuse examples sometimes to make them understand. So one thing you can think of is that, of course, you're going to be buying plants and seeds and bulbs like we talked about before. You know, what if you were needing to buy a new office chair for your office in the for the to do farm records? Well, that's not really producing agricultural products. That chair is not. So you wouldn't want to do something like that. All right. So that's just a kind of a weird example for you to understand that a little bit better. Okay. So in talking about exempt items a little bit more carefully there, look at what it says in red at the very top. It says appliances used directly and principally for the production of agricultural products. So, you know, the office chair is not, obviously, but certainly a rake, a hoe, a lawnmower, believe it or not, can qualify as long as it's being used directly and principally to produce your agricultural products. You may need to mow around certain things on your farm in order for your plants to grow properly. You know, that's very typical, especially in the nursery business. So, you know, those are allowed. Trailers and ATVs, but motor vehicles, trucks, cars, things of that nature never qualify. So you cannot get a motor vehicle for that. But the ATVs and similar side-by-sides and things like that can be purchased free of sales tax, again, if you're using them directly and principally to produce your crops. And of course, you know, we mentioned before the seeds or the seedlings for human or animal consumption, as well as fertilizer. And you see the other things listed here too. This needs to be updated in this presentation here. It says does not include items that are affixed to real property. That's not true. Okay. So let me correct that verbally here for you very quickly. We do have the ability for folks to do their building supplies free of sales tax now, as long as they're being used directly and principally for the production of agricultural products. So that's a mistake on the slide. So just want to make sure you know that. And that changed just this past year, just the past few months ago. Okay. In our agricultural tax manual, that is corrected in there, and you'll see that information along with an important notice on our website that shows that on there. Okay. So, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that here in just a moment, I'm sure. So now we want to talk about when you sell your products, when you're selling your cut flowers or other items that you might sell in your operation. So let's talk for a few minutes about this. So cut flowers are not taxable if 50% or more of your flowers are grown by you within the calendar year. So basically, if 50% or more of these flowers are grown by you, then you do not have to charge sales tax on those. Okay. Now, if less than 50% of them are sold in a calendar year by you that you've grown, only the proceeds of the sales actually grown or produced by you are exempt from sales tax. So that's where you have to kind of keep good books and records. All right. So you just want to make sure that you're keeping very good records to understand if you're above or below that 50% level. Typically, most of you are going to be above the 50% level. So if that's the case, you're good. You're not going to have to collect sales tax if you're just selling cut flowers. Okay. Now we're going to talk about some other different scenarios here in a minute, but so typically farmers selling from their farming location or really from anywhere are exempt as long as you're selling your stuff. And it really doesn't matter who you're selling your stuff to. It could be to a customer. It could be to another farmer. It could be anything like that. It's perfectly fine. So that's what the Tennessee legislature has done, is given you guys a great exemption. And it's something that's can save you quite a bit of money. Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more about a couple of other things in a moment. So I wanted to bring up value added products because so many of you are not just selling the product, the farm product, the crop, the flowers, right? You're selling other stuff. So when you do that, like it says here in the very top bullet, it says for value added products to be eligible for sales tax is exempt, you have to raise the products used to make the product. You can use preservatives. Not really sure how that ties in so much to the cut flowers. Maybe you have some sort of chemicals or whatever that you use to make the cut flowers live longer, and that would be okay there too. But in bullet number 3, I kind of gave you an example of something that's taxable. So if you were making flower arrangements and selling them, and you've done something more than just selling cut flowers, well, those arrangements would be taxable. And if you really think about it, if you were to go to like a flower store or some other place that you would go to buy some sort of flower arrangement, they would certainly charge you sales tax, right? Well, that would be no different for you either. You would have to charge sales tax on those value added items there too. Down at the bottom, this is a very common question that we get too about, okay, well, what about the containers that we might sell them in, these cut flowers or whatever. So maybe you wrap them in some sort of paper, or include a rubber band to kind of bind the stems together or whatever. If it's just necessary to convey the exempt item, we're not going to worry about that. We're not going to consider that to be a value added item. I gave you an example of honey. Okay, of course you're not, beekeepers, and you're probably not producing honey, but if you were a beekeeper and you wanted to sell honey, it's pretty hard to convey honey to a customer unless you put it in something. So, that glass jar, that plastic jar, that wrapping paper, whatever, doesn't matter so much as it relates to the overall exemption for that. So we would not consider that to be value added just because you added a simple container or a wrapping on that. Okay. All right. So if you do have to collect sales tax on a value added product or some other product that you might sell that's outside your farming operation, you do want to get a resale certificate from us, and you do want to collect, obviously, the sales tax and go ahead and get that resale certificate, because that allows you to buy items that you are going to be using to resell and not have to pay sales tax on those items. Okay. And that's a very valuable sort of thing. It's a big exemption. So if you are doing that and required to collect sales tax, you want to use your resale certificate. And of course, periodic filing. Most of the time, people are set up on monthly basis, but they can be quarterly or annual basis as well. And one very important thing at the very bottom there is that filing is required. If you're registered for sales tax now, filing is required, even if you didn't have any taxable sales. So it might be the middle of January and you're not growing anything or selling anything, and you're registered for monthly sales tax, we still have to have you file a zero sales tax return. Again, only if you're registered for sales tax. And many of you may not be registered for sales tax. You may not have a reason to. So I'm only talking to those of you that might have a need to register to collect sales tax on something that you're selling that's taxable. Okay. So some other issues here for your consideration. Sales products produced by any farm in Tennessee are exempt from sales tax, regardless of where you sell them. So if you sell them from your farm, or you sell them at a farmer's market, or really anywhere you want to, as long as you're producing that product, you do not have to collect sales tax on it. Okay. But on the other side of that whole thing, any product sold at retail by somebody that's not the farmer is going to have to charge sales tax on it, which makes perfect sense because that's the exemption is only for that qualified farmer, nursery operator, or timber harvester. Okay. And that's the way the sales tax laws work in Tennessee, really for just about any other sort of business as well. So just to call some to your attention here, some different resources. We have our agricultural tax manual, our exemption application form that we mentioned there earlier, and then our website, which is www.tn.gov/revenue. You can search for in the tax resources section for the manual. In the sales tax section, you can find the agricultural exemption application. And then, of course, if you have other issues that you need help with, we want you to give us a call. And I'm going to give you a phone number to remember. If you need to contact us, please do so. We're there every day, Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30 Central Time. And that phone number is 615-253-0600. Again, 615-253-0600. And an email address that I promised you earlier in the presentation. This is to get us either your application form or just to ask us a general question, whatever you want to do. Please send us an email to revenue and then put a dot. So revenue.support@tn.gov. Again, revenue.support@tn.gov. And we will answer your question and be most happy to help you with your application form, questions about any certificates or any other tax law questions that you have. So with that, that's pretty much the end of the presentation today. And again, I want to thank Rachel and the Department of Agriculture for inviting me to speak on this recording today, and certainly want to thank you as farmers and nursery operators, maybe even timber harvesters, if you're listening to this, for everything you do for the state of Tennessee and its citizens. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Billy. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to them at the Tennessee Department of Revenue, and we hope that you will find the links associated with this video helpful. Thank you so much.